Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a new series on my channel where I spotlight KU authors. And this month I thought I would do Kennedy Ryan, as it is the month of love, and Kennedy Ryan is considered one of those authors that writes epic love stories. I thought I would give her a shot. I have DNF'd one book previously by her, but I am more than willing to give her another shot. So the way that this series and this video is going to work is Kennedy Ryan in particular has 3 series available to read on KU. So I will be reading all of those series, and by the end of this video I will be able to tell you which ones are worth it and if I think Kennedy Ryan is worth picking up on KU. Even more into the nitty-gritty, I will be reading the first book in each series. I will be reading each series in publication order, and if I give the book anything less than 3 stars, I will not continue with the series and I will move on to the next one. An example of this would be that the first series based on publication order available to read on KU by Kennedy Ryan is her Souls books. And the first one is My Soul to Keep. It has 3 books in the series: My Soul to Keep, Down to My Soul, and Refrain. So I will be reading My Soul to Keep. If I give it 3 or more stars, I will move on to Down to My Soul. And if I do not give that one 3 or more stars, I will move on to her Grip series, which has 3 books. If I don't give the first book in that series, Flow, 3 or more stars, I will move on to the Hoops series, which is the last series available to read from her on KU, and that first book is Long Shot. And if I don't read that one either, if I don't give that one 3 or more stars, then I will just not read any more books by Kennedy Ryan. You will be able to tell based on the type of reader that I am and what you may know about me from other videos if you can trust my recommendation in favor or not in favor of Kennedy Ryan based on the type of reader that I am. So all of that is to say that if you have any other KU authors that you have ever been curious about, make sure you leave them down in the comments. I would love to check them out. My preferred series type would be dark romance. I'm not a fan of sports romances, but I will check them out if you would like me to. Just know that I'm not a fan going in. It's going to have to be exceptional for me to like it. But other than that, let's get into the vlog portion of the video. I am 50% of the way through My Soul to Keep, and this is very emotional. This deals very heavily with grief. In the opening chapter, our heroine Kai witnesses her mother pass away, who she was very close with. After the death of her mother, she quickly moves to LA to live with her friend, who she has been friends with since like elementary school. She is working several jobs. She's a PA for this like music producer, and he produces our hero, whose name is Reeson. We're gonna call him Reeson. They meet at a party or something that the producer is holding where Reeson performs, and they lock eyes after he's done. He ends up driving her home, and he asks her on a date, and he's like, I don't really do this a whole lot, like I'm not really into relationships, but I really feel this pull to you. You want to go out? And she like very much turns him down. Kai wants to be a performer. She wants to be on stage. She sings and dances, and she feels like if she goes out with him, then everybody will think that any success that she has going forward will be because of him. They can be friends, and he's very reluctant to do so. He's like intensely attracted to her, and it's, like I said, very emotional. Both of them are dealing with a lot. Reese doesn't have a good relationship with his family. He has a twin sister and his 2 parents, and his 2 parents really abused him when he was a kid, and he, at I want to say 17, became emancipated, and that's when his uncle, who is the producer that they have in common, kind of became his guardian. His sister is in his life. His sister is his manager, and she's actually the heroine from the Grip series. They start up this friendship. Obviously, they both know that like each other is in love with each other. Not necessarily in love with each other, but they feel like this pull to each other. At the 50% mark, they haven't really done much. I'm not expecting much to happen because this is a 3-book series and all of the books follow the same couple. So I'm not expecting like a happily ever after out of this one. I've teared up a little bit. I haven't like, the tears haven't fallen, but I've definitely made like the crying face, and it's emotional, and I do feel their chemistry. I'm like, when they're on page, I'm grinning. I feel their tension. I feel their chemistry. I feel the spark, but they both have a lot of like shitty traits. And in particular, Reese at this point in my head is very toxic. He is extremely jealous of her with other people, and he basically says like, if you're gonna be with other people, we can't even be friends, kind of thing. Like, it has to only be me that you're like touchy-feely with, I guess. He very much like pushes her and says things that like push the boundaries of their friendship, and this is something that I find so wrong and so toxic with the friend zone mentality, because it implies that there are boundaries that you are willing to push to get what you want, that the person that has friend zoned you doesn't know or doesn't have the autonomy to decide how your relationship is going to go. And it's very irritating, and that's definitely what he is like constantly thinking and talking about, is like the fact that he's in the friend zone and constantly like making little remarks to her about them being friends and things like that. And it's very, very annoying and entitled, and I see that in other places in his life, that is just like his personality. He's very entitled, and like I get it, like he was essentially a piano prodigy when he was a child, and so he had fame from the time he was like 12. So he's had this level of like power his whole life, but I'm really hoping that that is something that we work through as the series goes on, because at this point, like, I don't really like him, and it's annoying to me that like he's pushing her boundaries and taking that away from her, and like she wants to be more than friends with him, but like she feels like she'll be sacrificing her career to do so, and it's annoying that like he doesn't respect her decision. So I'm hoping that we work that out. There's a scene where he like his friends, his friend, his sister, his two friends and his sister are talking to him about something that he doesn't want to talk about, and he basically like enforces his power to tell them to stop talking about it. And he has like this short paragraph about how he's the more successful one, so he has the most power, and he's like the most important person in the group, and how he doesn't really use it, but everybody at the table knows it. And like, it wasn't said in like a smarmy way, it was just like, this is just a fact kind of way. But also the fact that he would use that power that he has over the people that are supposed to be closest to him in his life, I think speaks very highly to the level of like entitlement that he has, where it's like even the people that he's closest to, he feels like he can push around because he's always had this level of fame and notoriety around himself. And I just hope that like we go beyond that, because like I like every other part of him. I understand that like he has a lot of baggage, but it's bad, it's awful in particular for the heroine because she's going through so much, but you can see that it is good for her in other ways. And so it's hard to discern how I feel about them. I think that they're good together, but I definitely think that there's a lot of growth there. And obviously like this is I'm assuming a 900-page series, because this book is like a little over 300, and I'm assuming the same for the others. So I know there's going to be some growth there, but at this moment, that's just kind of how I'm feeling. If I were to give my rating right now, it's definitely going to be 4 stars. This immediately gripped me. Like, I got 50% in like 2 hours. That's how fast I read this. Like, it's so good, and I can see how with better writing she could just be unstoppable. Her storytelling ability is just fantastic. I can see why people love her so much. Chances are I probably will continue with this series. Hopefully not all of the clips will be 10 minutes long like this one has been, but that's where I'm at. My initial impressions with Kennedy Ryan, and they're good. Okay, so I just finished My Soul to Keep, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. The hero is like a piece of shit, to be honest. Like, he's very toxic, immature, selfish, entitled. Like, I don't like him, but I am going to continue the series because I want to see how he gets redeemed, how the groveling is, all of that. I liked this. Like, I like this a lot. He's toxic, but also you can understand how like they have that just like soul connection, how they have that relationship that just like transcends barriers, I guess is the best way to describe it. And like, that sounds very dramatic. They have that sort of relationship that just like they make sense together, and they both need to grow, and you can see that like he has hurt her very badly. Him growing and him changing will be the catalyst that keeps the relationship going, if that makes sense. Like, their relationship isn't over, the love isn't lost. It's one of those relationships where it's like you can hurt each other, but as long as you're working through it together, like there's nothing that you can end your love, sort of thing. I am planning on continuing, and I think the way that the rest of these videos are gonna go is, if I'm reading a series like I am here, I'm going to timestamp each book down in the description, like the time bar, so that if you want to skip because of possible spoilers, you want to read the series yourself, then you can skip to what series is next, if that makes sense. Like, so you could skip to the first book in the Grip trilogy and then go forward, so that you might avoid any spoilers, because I do want to talk about these books, and I do not want to have like the restraint of saying this is a spoiler every time. Obviously there's spoilers in here because like this is a series following the same couple, so like it's gonna be spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers for the next books, go ahead and skip to the timestamp for the Grip trilogy, and I will see you there. If you're staying for the spoilers, I am going to be going into the next book, and we will see how that goes. I think because of the way that the way that the book ended was basically that Raisin, he betrayed her. She went out for this audition for this company that he didn't like, and he told the company that if they didn't hire her, he would give them something in return, and they didn't hire her. So she finds out about it. Obviously, she is rightfully heartbroken, and she decides to leave LA. I'm assuming the next book is going to take place in Georgia, where she is from, and I just know that like there's going to be a lot of growth going forward. I don't feel like there's been much. Reese will do these things, like these fucked up things to her, and then immediately afterwards he will like in his head be like, that was fucked up, like I shouldn't have done that. But I don't really feel any growth there. Like, I think he's sorry because of the reaction that he got from her, but I don't think that he's genuinely sorry that he did it and that he hurt her, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't like that he hurt her, but he would do it again if it got the same outcome that he wanted, if that makes sense. So I'm excited to see how the second one goes. I think that there is the capability for redemption there, and I think that Kennedy Ryan can do it. I think that her writing is great, like I said before, very engaging, and I just like wanted to continue reading. I never wanted to stop, and like I could feel their connection, and I could feel that like their relationship is something special. So yeah, I'm gonna start the second one, update you at the 50% mark, and we will talk later. I am 50% of the way through Down My Soul or something like that. Everything that I was scared of is exactly what's happening, and I have already and continue to consider DNFing. Sorry if the camera shakes, my cat has decided to make an appearance. So in the beginning of the book, they are gone for 3 weeks because I said that she goes back to Georgia, but actually she ends up going on tour with the company, one of the companies that he didn't want her to join. She doesn't talk to him for several months, and then he is like texting her every day, and he sends her gifts and stuff like that. And he texts her one day, like, call me, and so she does, and, like, that restarts their relationship. There's a conversation where he's like, I love you, you love me, can we just, like, get over this, basically? Can you just forgive me? In her head, she's like, I love him so much, I have to forgive him, like, there's not a choice. And there definitely is a choice. I like that in the same conversation, she's like, I want to take it slow, and I don't know if I can trust you. But it's not just that, like, it's just because you love him doesn't mean that, like, anything that he does is forgiven. And I think she is well within her rights to continue to have issues with him and his behavior. And something that I do appreciate is that, like, he is going to therapy and he's going to individual counseling and with his family, because she basically tells him, like, the way that your parents tried to control you when you were a child and they called it love is exactly what you're doing to me, which is, like, 100% accurate. Every scene that they have together goes exactly the same way. They have a fight. He tells her that he doesn't like what she's doing, and then she gets mad, and then they fuck, and then it goes back to the same shit of them talking about something, about him not liking something, about him not liking decisions that she's making. And it's like, yes, in a relationship, you can tell your partner if you feel like they're doing something that you don't agree with, but one, it's their decision to ultimately go along with it. Two, it's not fair to continually badger them over and over and over again after you've already made your point clear. And three, it's not fair to use your anger as, like, a manipulation tactic. And that's what happens a lot in this book, is she realizes that he's getting upset about something, so she tries to divert the conversation away from what they're talking about because she doesn't want him to be angry, which is just not fair. That's not how it's supposed to go. Like, you shouldn't have to walk on eggshells because your partner gets mad and you don't want to make them mad. Like, that's not how that works. And another really annoying thing that's happening is, like, he's intensely jealous to the point where she's, like, not interacting with people in a way that she normally would when he's around because of his response to that person, which is, like, also very toxic. I'm not liking it, and I'm feeling like they are just constantly having the same argument over and over and over again every single scene, and it's really grating on my nerves. I would just DNF and go on to the next book, but I feel like there's something there. Like, there is a self-awareness that this is not just happening because they, like, the author wants to be messy. Like, this is happening for a reason, and I know that, like, it's going to improve and these things are going to get better, but the interim of getting there is just kind of draining me a little bit. So I think today I am going to read our book club pick for our meeting on Saturday and come back to this a little bit later on because I'm just a little bit tired of it, and I don't know if I continue reading back to back if I'm going to give the ending the proper assessment that I should, because at the moment, like, this is a 2-star and I don't, like, feel like continuing. So we will talk again when it is done. I finished Down to My Soul, or whatever this book is called, and I did end up giving this 3 stars. After the 50% mark, it got way better. All of the issues that I was having in the first part kind of resolved. Like, something happens to her that kind of snaps them out of, like, the cycle. The second half focuses more on her betrayal to him than his betrayal to her. So they come to this point where they're both they both are working through things together and growing together. It ended up saving the whole book. Like, if the whole book had been like that, it definitely would have been a 2-star for me. And I'm not quite sure how the third book is going to go, because something that I know about myself is, like, I don't like reading about happy couples. I'm assuming there's going to be some tension and things there, but if it's just about, like, two married people dealing with external conflicts for 200 plus pages, I'm not gonna enjoy. And then we will go on to the Grip trilogy. So we will talk whenever I have finished Refrain, which is the last book in this series, and I likely will just update you when I have finished it, because this vlog is going to be very long. I still have a ton more books to do, so we're gonna kind of keep the updates brief. So I am 50% of the way through Grip, and a couple of days ago I finished Flow. I didn't really feel the need to update you at the time, because Flow is more of a introduction to Grip in Bristol. It is when they meet, like, 8 years prior to the events of the first book, and it's like a quick little 120-page novella of their meeting. And then Grip is present day after what happened in the end of the novella. I don't really feel like it's spoilers, but Bristol comes to stay with Ryson, her brother, for spring break, and she meets Grip, who is Bryson's best friend. They have an immediate connection. But Grip is dating a woman, and he hasn't broken it off with the woman. And in the end of the book, before Bristol is supposed to go back to New York, the girl shows up, goes off on him for possibly getting her pregnant and, like, trying to ditch her with the baby. And that's kind of how the novella ends. We start Grip with, like, some flashbacks, and then we get into present day, where Grip is being managed by Bristol, and Bristol is working for Reeson at his label company, whatever they're called, and he is, like, about to have his first album come out. He's a rapper, and when they first met, he was, like, busting tables, sweeping, DJing, like, anything to kind of get his name, like, do what he needed to do to continue his music. And now he has essentially made it big. She doesn't want to be in a relationship with him, but he feels intensely attracted to her in every way. Like, he thinks that they had this amazing connection, and even though they only spent a week together, he can't, like, get over her. He has been with other women, and so something with her parents, kind of a hang up with her parents, keeps her from being able to commit to him, because she feels like he's gonna cheat, and he's gonna cheat, and she's not going to be able to leave. Like, she's gonna be in too deep with him to leave him, and so she's just gonna live the rest of her life unhappy and in a relationship with someone that just gives her scraps, and she just accepts it. And so I'm at the 50% mark of Grip right now, and I've cried a little bit. Like, so Grip is from Compton, and that heavily influences his music, and music is a huge part of this series. And there's this part where he is talking about, like, you're gonna have to excuse my cat just growling for no reason in the background. His experience growing up in Compton and how that made him feel and things like that. And yeah, I mean, it's an emotional book, and, like, I definitely understand their connection 100%. Like I said before with Reeson and Kai, that I just knew that, like it was a love that that just, like, changes everything. Like, it doesn't matter what happens as long as you guys are growing together. Like, you'll end up together, and that's definitely what's happening here. Like, their connection is just insane, their chemistry is insane, and they're, like, I just feel it. It's so palpable and so believable, and it's been 8 years, I think, of them just being friends, but their love for each other is so intense. and they feel very believable. The issues that the characters have feel very believable, and Kennedy Ryan is one of those authors that, like, she takes a character that you never thought you would like and just, like, it makes you understand them. Bristol in the first series, I didn't like at all. I thought she was just a bitch and she was callous, and reading from her point of view, like, it's 100% understandable, and you feel a lot for Bristol. You understand why she is the way she is, and it's very relatable. And Grip too has always kind of been this mystery playboy, but once you're in his head, you really understand, like, this all-consuming love that he has for Bristol, and, like, nothing else compares, and, like, he just is completely gone for her. And the point that I'm at, they're together. I can see it, like, this is gonna be a 5-star, I think, and it's just so beautiful. There is this scene right before, you know, that scene, like, the conversation they have before they get together. Grip, at this point, has already decided that he needs to separate from her. He can't be managed by her anymore because he just needs to get over her. Like, she has no intention of being with him, and, like, he needs to stop flaying himself open for her just to keep denying him. And so there's a scene at our house. She's like, I've put up all of these barriers again and again to keep myself from being with him because he might be my dad and I'll end up like my mom, just taking scraps. And he's been wide open this entire time. He's never put up barriers for me. He's always been there. He's always been steady. He's left himself open and never guarded himself from me. And I'm the one that ended up like my dad. And it just was so powerful. Like, their relationship, their chemistry is nuts. And they're very different people. He was raised in Compton and she was raised in New York on the Upper East Side with parents that were rich with old money, and then her brother was a prodigy, so, like, they had money, and she was raised in this immense class wealth, and she's white and he's black, so she has the white privilege, and, like, their lives are just so completely different. But this is a love that, like, it's doesn't matter. It matters in that, like, they're the people that they are because of their privileges and the things that they've been through, but it doesn't matter because they love each other, and the barriers are not going to stop that, and they're very, very open to having those uncomfortable conversations with each other about race and class and privilege and all of those things. They've had those conversations pretty much immediately, and they aren't afraid to talk about it. So the conversations happened early on, and they felt very open with each other because they understood that even if someone says something the wrong way, they're still just saying it because they want to understand, and they're not doing it out of malice. And their relationship is just so beautiful. And something happens in the third book that I won't reveal because it is a spoiler, but I know, like, this, it's not a personal trigger for me, but I just, like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle it. Like, I already know that I'm gonna be sobbing my eyes out because Kennedy Ryan's writing is just extraordinary. Like, just so good. So I'm going to talk to you again when I have finished the book. I know I said I wasn't going to do halfway updates anymore, but I wanted to talk about that little novella while I still had it in my head. So those are the updates. We'll talk again. This entire clip's going to be sideways, and I hope you forgive me if you didn't notice that before, and now you have. Here we are. But I finished Grip, and I'm not going to talk about it too long because I just had that 10-minute clip, but it was beautiful. It made me cry. The ending was so gorgeous. I love their relationship. Like, it just was so good, and I'm excited to go on to the second one. Or the third one. I know it's gonna break my heart. It's a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be, so I'm very excited. I think that if I'm ever going to love a book about a happy couple, well, a couple that's already together, it's going to be this one, because I love this couple and they're just so perfect. And yeah, I'm ready to jump in, so let's go. I can't do this. I can't read it. I can't read it. I can't. Okay, so I have finished the Grip trilogy. I read the last book still earlier. I finished it maybe 2-3 hours ago, and I didn't know when I would be fully prepared to talk about it, and I don't know if I will be anytime soon. I cried 5 separate times in this book, and from the 80% point on, I didn't stop crying until the end of the book. Like, I had to continually wipe tears from my eyes to just read the words on the screen. This is one of the most beautiful and boundless and unconditional loves I have ever read. Like, if you were to ask me to point out just a love between two people that is boundless and can withstand anything and transcends barriers, like, it's this one. It's definitely this one. And the things that they go through in the last book, like, it breaks a lot of people, a lot of relationships, and they love each other enough and they worked through it, and it just, like, is truly beautiful in a way that I don't know how to describe to you. It's one of those books where, like, if you read it, this is at least my experience, like, I appreciated my own partner so much more reading this book, like, watching them work through their problems. And I don't really know how to explain it, but it was like an eye-opening experience for me, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And it's like truly beautiful, and their love is just, they have so many barriers in the way, so many people that don't want them together, so many obstacles, and they just break through every one of them, and they stand by each other, and they might have their doubts, but they work through it together. And it just, like, I don't know how to explain how, I don't know, like, I can't articulate how just amazing this trilogy is, and I would love everybody to read this. Obviously, this is a very heavy series. It deals a lot with racism and police brutality and classism and bigotry and just, like, a lot of stuff. And there's also a trigger warning for a loss of a child. So it's tough. It's really heavy, and I think that's what makes it so amazing, is that it truly is a romance between two people that you feel like you understand. Like, sometimes I think with, especially, like, mafia and really dark romances, it's almost gone past the point of believable, and the dark stuff that's happening, you're like, eh. But this is just so realistic. You connect so much to them. They feel so real that, like, you hurt with them. And Kennedy Ryan is truly an amazing author. And I'm very glad that I read the first trilogy first before I read this, because I think that would have lessened my enjoyment going back. And I don't know if the Hoop series is going to be as good as this, because I don't honestly know if I'm going to be able to even find anything as good as this. Like, that sounds very dramatic, but this was just truly on another level. Like, if I gave out 6 stars, this would be a 6-star. Like, truly just so powerful and so beautiful and so amazing. I just don't know anything else to say about it. Like, I have never cried so much in a book, like, straight up. Never. I think the thing that destroyed me this much the most was the first time that I read the ending of Clockwork Princess. And like, the comparison is just, you can't even make it. But I'm at a loss for words. So I think if you are going to read Kennedy Ryan, read this series if you can deal with the triggers that are obviously in here. I think it's beautiful. I think it's passionate and unconditional and just perfection. Now I'm going to go on to the Hoops series. I was intending to get this out in February, but I don't think that's going to happen. I need a break. I need to go to a different subgenre. I need to go to a different author. I just need a change of pace. So I think I'm going to have to come back to this, and I don't know if I'm gonna get this out in February, but I will try. I have the 3 books in the Hoop series, and yeah. So please pick this series up. Like, please. If you don't listen to anything else in this video, if you have no interest in Kennedy Ryan and you're just watching this because you like vlogs, you like long vlogs or whatever, I highly encourage you to pick up this series. Like, highly, highly, highly. It's exceeds all of the expectations I could have possibly had. Yeah, I'm gonna go read some historical romance now. So I finished Long Shot. This is the first book in the Hoops series. This is the last series that I'm going to read by Kennedy Ryan, and I gave this 5 stars. This is a incredibly heavy book. I cannot stress that enough. If you have any triggers about domestic abuse, verbal, physical, sexual assault, anything like that, I highly recommend caution. So this is about the heroine who has always wanted to be an agent, like a sports agent. And in the beginning of the book, she meets the hero at a bar. And they have one night together, and it's like super magical, and they feel this intense chemistry. But at the end of the night, he asks her to kiss, like if he can have a kiss. And she tells him that she has a boyfriend. So they go their separate ways, and at an event, they see each other, and he realizes that she is his rival's girlfriend. And they only run into each other a handful of times, but they feel this really intense chemistry. And then the heroine ends up pregnant with her boyfriend's child, and she moves in with him, and he starts getting really, really, really violent with her, very possessive. He starts raping her, a lot of like terrible stuff. And this is a very heavy, 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 heavy book. Like, I cannot stress how heavy this is. And Kennedy Ryan's writing is so intense and emotional that it just like makes it that much more heavy. I really enjoyed this. Not in like this is a fun read, because it definitely wasn't, but I think that it was a great story. It was written very well. I believed their chemistry. Their romance was beautiful. All of the other things that I've been saying about all of the other books. But if you are looking for a very romance heavy book, this is not really going to be for you. Between the beginning and the 60% mark, they only see each other about 4 times. You get dual POV, but they're each dealing with their own things. She's dealing with this abusive relationship. The hero is dealing with an injury. They are constantly in each other's thoughts, but they don't actually see each other a whole lot until that about 60% mark. Personally, for me, I think that it was enough time together for me to believe that they would end up together. There are several time skips in this, and I didn't feel like they were used in a bad way or a way to like make it so that their relationship is believable without actually having to grow the relationship. I think you could understand why they wanted to be with each other and where their love came from. I don't know how the rest of the books in this series are going to be, but this is definitely the hardest that I've read from her so far. So I did end up starting the second book in the series. I think it's called Block Shot or something like that, and I'm not very far in. This is a second chance, and in the beginning of the book, the hero is trying to join this fraternity. It starts with them at college, and he's trying to join this like elite fraternity, and they tell him to join they have to fuck a fat girl. That's literally the phrasing that they use. And fat girl that they want him to have sex with is Banner, who is the heroine, and he has been in love with her for a long time, so he like doesn't have any interest in doing this. So he ends up telling them like, fuck your secret society, I don't need you guys, I'm leaving. And so he leaves, and that night he and Banner end up having sex for the first time. And of course the guys from the fraternity end up showing up and basically convincing her that he did it for a bet. And so we skip forward to around the same time, a little bit after the events of the first book in the series, and they are both sports agents. He is stepbrother of the hero from the first one, and they now own a company together, like a sports agency company. And then she, I believe, she's already working for their company, or she works for another company. I haven't deciphered that yet, and I think at some point they're gonna have to work together. But she is dating another sports guy, and I know that there's cheating in this, but I'm not a huge person, like I'm not hugely against cheating as long as it's not the hero or the heroine on the other person in the relationship. I have to make the distinction of like, it's not hurting our couple in that way, if that makes sense. So I am going to talk to you guys when I'm finished with that one, and then we'll go into the third book. I'm not going to read the novella in this series because I think it's just like a Christmas novella, and then we'll wrap up the video. I will talk to you when I have finished this one. I have decided to DNF Blockshot at 73%. I don't like this conflict. I don't believe in their relationship. I don't like them as people. I was going to finish it because I only have 100 pages left, but that conflict hit and I just have no interest in reading it. I'm gonna do a spoiler section real quick. If you want to know why I'm not going to be continuing this, let's dive into it. So this is about cheating. The heroine is dating a basketball player, and pretty quickly into the book, her and Jared, the hero, start hooking up. Like there's some tension, there's some kissing and stuff, and then she reveals to her boyfriend that she cheated. They break up. Her and Jared, like a day or two later after the breakup, go on vacation together. And when she's on vacation, she gets a call from her boss and says that her ex-boyfriend, who she's still like an agent for, is in the hospital. And she shows up at the hospital and they find out that he has cancer. And he tells her, I will only let you stay with me to take care of me if you end things with Jared until I'm better, and then we can like fight it out over you when I'm healthy. And her thought process is, he needs something to fight for, so I'm gonna like let him fight for me or some bullshit like that. Jared, I don't like. I don't like him. I'm sorry. Like, he from the very beginning sets out with the intention of getting Banner regardless of Zoe's feelings, the ex-boyfriend, and I just don't appreciate that. Like, he from the very beginning just says like, I don't care, and I don't like that. Like, I don't like that he has no respect for other people, and he also has no respect for Banner's decision in that part. There's a whole chapter where she like is feeling bad for herself, and like I don't feel bad for her. So I don't really like, I said that I don't mind cheating in books, but like this one just rubbed me the wrong way, and I have no interest in participating in that conflict. So I said in the beginning, if I DNF a book in a series, I will not continue the series, and so that means that this is the end of this video. I think I'm still going to read the last book in the series at some point, just not anytime soon. I think I just need a break. Like that, after coming off of Still being one of the best books that I've probably ever read, this was just a massive disappointment for me, which like, it's okay. Like not every book that an author puts out is going to be like a favorite of yours, but this was just not it. If I were to recommend any of these to you, I would say that if you can handle some of the trigger warnings in the Grip trilogy, I would highly recommend. I think it's a beautiful series. The first series, the Souls whatever, is okay. It's kind of just like testing the waters. I think if you're new to Kennedy Ryan and you're not quite sure if you're gonna like her writing or anything like that, maybe give this one a shot. And then the Hoop series is kind of on a personal basis. If you can handle the trigger warnings again with the first one, I think it was a phenomenal book. I can't speak to this one because I DNF'd it and I can't speak to the third one. But overall, I would say I did find an author that I believe in and that I will read from more and read new releases from in the future. So that is the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts down below on the books that I read, my thoughts on Kennedy Ryan, your thoughts on Kennedy Ryan, if you've read her or not. Other than that, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.
Sitting in silence, we still feel the vibe, but you could not say a word, and I know what you just decided. We'd be right in the same wave. Oh, the water's perfect, babe.